Kimberley School near Nottingham, where newly qualified English teacher Gemma Sharp's putting herself on the line by spending a couple of days with straight-talking teaching and learning consultant Philip Beadle.
We're going to look at a poem and annotate it, just go mad with it. All of our ideas are just going to be spilled out and put onto the board this time.
He's come to help her develop her teaching and unearth the potential of her Year 9 Set 4 out of 5 English class.
I want a fantastic adjective to describe.
Gemma worked for 3 years as a TA prior to starting her teaching at Kimberley last year.
Pick 6 of these and put 1 into each of the boxes. So pick 6, for instance, stanza, noun, personification, verb, metaphor, onomatopoeia, alliteration, whatever. Nice.
Why? Is it bingo,
I'll tell you why in a minute. We're going to play a bit of poetic turn bingo.
You want more creative ideas, yeah? I don't think you need any more creative ideas. I think you've got a bucket load of creative ideas.
Simile!
Oh,
yeah. Lewis, what is simile?
Mrs. Feet smell like fish.
Thanks.
What is true?
Lovely. Sit down.
You're a very, very powerful performer, OK? Extremely good at the front of the class. Your voice projection is fantastic. And also...
It's code for I'm loud. No, I know what you mean.
Yeah, you are a bit loud, and you could probably learn to drop it down a bit, because what happens if you're always loud? Like, if I shouted at you, what would happen to your body?
Sort of.
Yeah, you go back. Whereas if you're delivering to kids in a much more quiet manner, and it works when you speak quietly, people go. And it's a very interesting way of managing kids' emotional responses, particularly when you're dealing with poetry.
Jasmine, you can turn the lights off. I'm going to read you this poem. We're going to read this several times this lesson. Different people are going to read different parts of it. I'm going to read the whole thing to you now, and I want you to just listen. Just listen to what I'm reading. That's all I want you to do. Put your pen down. Nobody should be writing. Just listen. Yeah? As you're listening, I want you to think of which words stick in your head.
Did this brilliant thing where you turn the lights off.
I don't know why I did that, I just thought I'd do it.
Great, you followed your nose. And what happened there, that's, again, so many great things happen.
An old woman grabs hold of your sleeve and tags along. She wants a 50 pace coin. She says she will take you to the horseshoe shrine.
The images came into their heads. It made them able to focus. It would have been so much better.
It's all about the tone of my voice and stuff.
If you hadn't just delivered it straight.
You've seen it already. She hobbles along anyway and tightens her grip on your shirt.
What I would say, though, is when you're at the front of the class and what you do is you change the focus point by going over here, and it keeps kids interested. You never stop moving, yeah? And what that does is transmits anxiety, and that will go over to the kids. But if you want to mix it up, you just pick a point that you're going to.
Almost as though it's a conscious decision to do.
Walk to it and then deliver from here. And it does keep kids' attention really well, but if you're permanently on the move, it's a little bit chaotic.
Yeah.
I put bullet hole for eyes as one of them because it makes you think like she's got really small eyes and stuff like that.
Okay. Anybody else put bullet holes for eyes? Anybody else get that stuck in their head? Billy?
Like she's blind or something.
What made you give that impression?
Like she's got no eyeballs, or it's like someone's just shot her in her eye or something like that.
So she's missing a side?
Yeah.
There was some kid said something right towards the end. I couldn't stop myself. I went, wow! Because I thought what he said was so good. You need a bit more of that. As we've said, let nobody say something brilliant without you remarking on it. And without, because you're so good at eye contact, without you giving them that was brilliant. Yeah, and let them know how special you think they are.
Sky falling. Why is that so important, do you think?
As people get older, they think things differently.
If it was a feeling, what kind of feeling would the word sky falling try to show?
A bad feeling or something.
Why?
Like the world's going to end, like, soon. Like...
OK, so that's the idea of doom. Jasmine, what would you like to say?
You only have to do that once in a kid's life, and it could change their life entirely. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
That the reverberations of what we do for a living, you've just said one positive thing to a kid, That may affect the way they walk home tonight, affect how they behave with their parents, it may affect how their parents are to them, it may totally affect their attitude to education. You don't know that.
Yeah.
So you have to take every single chance to let them know you think they're brilliant. And when you do that, they start living up to it.
Each stanza is 3 lines long, and I want you to read the one that's in front of you and annotate it in the same way that we annotated the poem that we did last lesson.
To explore poetic terms in an old woman and comment on the effects created. Did you manage to achieve that? Yes. Yeah, you did. However, there was a lot of learning that with tighter and more kind of chiselled down lesson objectives that I would have wanted to see in that.
Phil believes the key to Gemma's improvement is in setting very clear lesson objectives, which will enable her to be more self-critical in assessing how much students have actually learned.
New knowledge, the real lesson objective on that lesson was how to annotate a poem. Yeah. And your lesson objectives can be that naked and that functional. In this lesson, I'm going to teach them how to annotate a poem. And had you had that as the lesson objective, yeah, it would have been a big fat tick because it was brilliantly done. But I think in having these so broad, what you do is you allow yourself not to teach them specific things. They knew the poetic terms, yeah? You were revising those poetic terms. They knew them pretty well. To improve your teaching, you must go into the minutiae of a lesson objective. And the way that you do that, generally speaking, this scheme of work, for instance, it is cohesive in that the poems are well chosen. It leads to an end point, which is good. But I don't see a lot of new information being brought in here. Okay? And I think that here, that's the objective. Yeah, to get kids to understand how sibilance works, to get kids to be able to use alliteration and to recognise why a poet uses it. Because the issue when we're teaching poetry is this technique spotting thing, okay? And the whole thing with poetry, it's all about oral effect. What is the oral effect on the reader, okay? How does this sound picture match to the meaning of the poem?
Phil's about to go through Gemma's next lesson plan, hoping for greater clarity with the learning objectives. She's chosen the Simon Armitage poem, About His Person.
Key question, what are you teaching them?
I want them to look at the style of a poem and look at the structure of them and try and adapt the style and show that they can create poems that are just as good.
Have you answered the question?
No.
Right, we'll do it again. What are you teaching them?
Structure and themes of poetry. In this poem in particular.
What are you teaching them that they don't already know? As a profession, it takes 4 years for you to realise this fundamental thing of teaching. A teacher's job is to teach them stuff that they don't already know. Now, for all your prodigious gifts, we haven't got that one in our head yet, and a hell of a lot of teachers in British education, it takes some years to understand. You will have enthused them about learning. They'll have something delightful to show to their parents. They'll have something that makes them proud of themselves. But the key thing is in any lesson, what are they leaving, what are they going out with, which they didn't come in with, in terms of what's in their heads?
The main thing that I want them to focus on in terms of structure is the idea of the rhyming couplets. And that each one is a rhyming couplet. So that's a new thing that they haven't actually looked at yet. It's a new term that they're going to learn.
So let's brainstorm that ourselves. How are you going to teach kids rhyming couplets? What a rhyming couplet is? Go on, just shout. Any idea that comes into your mind.
Just show them a rhyming couplet.
Right, well, OK, they come in twos.
And look at the idea of the word couple. Try and break down the word.
Right.
Couplet.
That's a nice start. So you go from couple to couplet.
So what does that tell you? It's 2. So if I told you about 2 lines, what then do you notice? Get them to try and pick it out themselves.
Right, here's an idea. Can you write a stupid limerick on the board?
You're really putting me under pressure this morning, aren't you?
Well, I'll give you one if you like. A stupid limerick.
Go.
There once was a man from Dundee who dreamt he got stung by a wasp.
should be B. So they'll change it.
What?
And then they've learned a rhyming couplet.
When asked if it hurt...
Beadle's noticed that not all the lines from the Armitage poem are classic rhyming couplets.
I have a question. Do those rhyme?
Yeah.
Does exactly rhyme with expiry?
Visually.
Is it a proper, posh, full-on rhyme?
Doesn't have to be.
Or is it a half rhyme?
Half rhyme.
Right. Now we're moving into interesting areas.
Okay.
Does pencil rhyme with April?
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Lock stopped. No.
That does... It's not a proper rhyme, is it?
No.
Let's see what they share. L-E-T-K-E-T, so that... And it's wall lock. So the first syllable doesn't rhyme.
The second does.
Yeah. How are you going to teach that?
I have absolutely no idea,
Right.
to be honest.
Well, again, one of the things you're good at is asking kids questions.
Right.
So let's lead them to it. Your initial task is a simple question. Stanzas 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 have something in common. Stanzas 1, 2, 8 and 9 don't have that thing in common. What is this mystery, children? Then you get them to do that process that we've just gone through, to get a definition of what constitutes a half rhyme. Let's go back to the lesson plan. Yes, to write a poem in a style of Simon Archer's about his person, but also...
Focusing on couplets, rhyming couplets and half rhyme.
to use, using...
Rhyming couplets.
Rhyming couplets and half rhyme. And suddenly they're doing something more sophisticated, yeah? If you can get a kid to understand half rhyme and to use it, that's a serious linguistic skill.
We're going to be exploring this poem, and we're going to be looking at two specific things. We are going to be looking at the meaning, what it's about, what it's saying, what is the story behind it, and we're looking at a new word, couplets. We're going to look at rhyming couplets. We're going to look at how it rhymes, the actual structure of it. Yeah? So, on the board we have a limerick. This is a different type of poem. I want you to work in your groups. You've only got about a minute, and look at the kind of rhyme scheme that's going on. What is wrong with it? What is going on? Read it through, read it out loud, read it with your group, talk to each other. What is it?
There was once a man from who got stung by a wasp.
He woke in the night with a terrible fright and found it was perfectly true. Which lines rhyme with which lines? So the first two rhyme together? And so does the last one. So lines 1, 2 and 5 rhyme. What about lines 3 and 4? Listen again.
So basically, Jamie, it's saying that like different words should be like different meanings. Yeah. I don't know.
We need to move on. We'll analyse it. Right. What is wrong with it? Put your hands up. Tell me. Jamie.
There was a man from Dundee who
Yeah.
dreamt he was stung by a wasp.
What should it be?
B.
There once was a man from Dundee who dreamt he got stung by a bee. When asked if it hurt, he said, no, not much. It can do it again if it likes. Does that make sense?
No. Really?
What do we need to change around? It's a bit naff. Let's change it around. What do we need to do? It's these 3 lines.
Change the last two.
To what?
I don't know.
Come on, let's help her out. It's these 2 lines we've got to change.
We don't know.
The last 2 lines.
Which 2 lines rhyme?
The last line has to rhyme with the top 2, doesn't it?
Perfect, Jamie. Well done. Make it rhyme. Give me this new line again. Rewrite it.
Now we cannot see.
So what's the last word got to rhyme with?
B.
B.
And
Dundee.
so it's got to have an E at the end, hasn't it?
The bit with the limerick.
Which you came up with. Can I remind you of that?
Yeah, absolutely. Did it work?
It taught them... Yeah. I think it did. They found it fun.
Do they now know what a rhyming couplet is?
I think they do. Some of them do.
I think we have to go back. Yeah, I think we have to go back and go, right, be brutally honest with ourselves. Do they, all of them, know what rhyming couplets are? I don't know. You'd have to have a look at their books.
Right. Poem in the middle of your desk. Have a look at it as a group. Have a bit of a read through while I get the next bit on the board.
I wish I'd have read it to them first. Because I went over to that group and read it to them, and then they started to understand it a bit more.
I think it does need a teacher to model it at some point as to draw out the kind of drama of it with a performance.
Right, back in your seats, just for this one little bit of instructions, and I want you out your seats again. Back into your seats for a minute.
Get round, the 2 lines run together.
I want you to look at stanzas 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 as a group, and 1, 2, 8 and 9 as another group. Try and work out why I've put them into those 2 different groups. Have a look at the poem. What is so different about those 2 different groups? Try and work it out. Thinking about couplets.
Yeah, 3. And then what's number 4?
I don't know. Actually, you don't get this.
Miss, is it because the last two letters rhyme? Like, them 2. Is it because like, silver, finger? Yeah. Wallet, locket.
Ooh. You're on to it, Jamie.
There is nothing that you understand that a kid can't understand. Nothing at all. And it doesn't matter whether they're top set or bottom set. One of the reasons these kids are in the bottom sets is because nobody expects anything of them. Yeah. And they've given up. Actually, all the kids in the bottom set can understand everything that the kids in the top set do. You've just got to translate it.
Those people that are saying, I don't get it, we're going to go through it now, and then hopefully you will get it by the end of it. Don't worry. There are some people that have clicked onto this, they're going to explain it to you. They're going to try to anyway. Ben, explain to me what you've just done. So stand here so everybody can see. Jasmine, pay attention.
Halved it so that there and ket rhyme, but wall and lock don't rhyme.
So it's a what?
Half rhyme.
Perfect. So we've learned a new term, half rhyme. Rhyming couplet is where the words rhyme perfectly, full rhymes, beautiful, makes sense, it's lovely. Those you picked out straight away. Then we've got half rhyme, where the first start of the word doesn't really make sense, doesn't really match up, but the second half does. So you've got the et at the end of it, haven't you? Locket, wallet. Yeah? Pencil, April. OK. What I want you to do now is work as your group.
Just what's the dead body for?
I'll explain that in a moment.
Gets me the layer.
Intrigue. Oh, mystery. We're going to get onto the dead body and envelopes in a moment. We've got to do one more thing before we get to that. You've got 2 questions. Everybody's got the same question 1. I want you to answer those 2 questions now. Do not take any...
On the positive side, it was enormously fun to be in here. And it was... Well, I don't know, I think that's probably it. Yeah, it was buzzy, there's lots and lots of activities. But the key to what we do for a living is what we put in their heads. And I'm not sure we managed to do that.
I want you to write a half rhyme, not a rhyming couplet, a half rhyme, so it's harder, about that. Half rhyme about that.
Is that in our groups?
Up to you what you think it is. In your groups, could be, it's up to you. In your groups, half rhyme about this.
A practitioner as good as you're going to be is continually asking themselves that question. Did it work? And they're being continually honest with themselves.
All right, Jamie, read me your half rhyme. Go. Big, loud voice.
There's a body lying there in the centre. He was just being murdered by a hamster.
I'd love to know how that works. Rhiannon, read yours.
Did it work? I don't think it did.
What didn't work then?
I don't think they all came out knowing what half rhyme was.
A body found dead, nothing can be said.
That's a full rhyme.
I'll spot it.
How did this man terribly die? Just thinking, would anyone cry?
What about that one?
Yeah, it's full rhyme. No, it's not.
C-R-Y-D-I-E.
It's still rhyme. It's full rhyme.
It's the sound of it. It's the sound that's the rhyme, not the construction on the page.
I love this class, love working with them, they're great, they're mental, that's why I love them. But I'm sometimes think, oh, I can't do that with them, they'll just be crazy, they won't do it, they won't get through it all. And these 2 days, if anything else I've taken from it, is the fact that I've now got the balls to do that.
If you have that, you go, right, every kid that I ever teach can understand any concept on the curriculum, and it's my fault if they don't. And you're honest with yourself, have they understood this? You will continue to develop as a teacher, and you will continue to have really good expectations for your students. And that's what it's about. You have to decide whether you want to be a good teacher for yourself, or whether you want to be a good teacher for them. Yeah, and what the difference would be.